Oh, I'm glad, Candace. I'm glad. I'm glad that people, sorry, people love me until they hate me because I said something that they hate. So people were like, he believes in vaccines. I don't want to have nothing to do with him. He's just an evil person. And they like demonize me for the rest of my life. I'm like, that's fine. I was like, I have an opinion about that. I've lost people, so I'm more inclined to believe that we need to just be vaccinated. But I also know that it's not a perfect world, not a perfect situation. You know, if people, this is how people choose to see this versus what the reality is. People are choosing to see there is no real threat from a COVID, or there is a threat, but I'm not going to be affected. But there's this dangerous vaccine that has all these side effects, and this will ruin your life. But this COVID thing is it's either not going to affect me, I'm not going to get it, or I'm not going to be as severely impacted by it, or it doesn't exist. And so there's these weird positions and so my body can fight it off. I'm young, I'm strong, I can get through it, and I'm not going to be affected. Newsflash, that's not the reality. The reality situation is you don't have a perfect choice here. Your choice is, do I take the risk and get COVID, which I know, I don't know what you know, but I know from experience, I saw my former assistant completely go into a state of she started to suffer from psychosis, and it was a spiral that she couldn't get out of. And she didn't get vaccinated, and she also let her guard down and stopped masking up. And so she took the risk. The decision was, I choose to get COVID. If that's going to be the case, I'm not going to get the vaccine because the vaccine's dangerous. She spent two and a half weeks in the hospital. She practically lost her mind. I mean, it was a really scary situation to see her go through. That was heartbreaking because I've never seen this. She was one of the most sane, stable people that I know. To see her to go from that to, you know, someone that looks like they've got schizophrenia. I mean, to go from that extreme, you know, and her recovery has taken time, you know, and so I saw how much pain and suffering she had to go through, and I'm like, and even then, even though she says I'm healed, no, because you're still having trouble catching your breath sometimes. You can't do everything you used to do. You know, your mind has been compromised. Even though you seem like you're back to your old self, your mind's been compromised, and all of these things are going to be with you for some time. That's the risk of what you're taking. But if you get the vaccine, there's also risks that come along with that as well. There are people who are having experiences where they are having herpes come up because the body is trying to work through the vaccine and trying to build its immunity. And so some of these underlying conditions or issues that may have been under control have a chance to flare up. And so there are certain things, whether it's acne or whatever, it's a temporary state, hopefully, because your body is going to work through all of that. But still, it's a response. You know, some people's responses to the vaccine have been more extreme, but for the majority of cases of people, they've been okay. They've been able to get through it, even though they still have had to deal with some minor responses or reactions in their bodies. So it's not a perfect decision. Do you choose this, which could be a lifelong thing, which again, since the beginning, I'm like, I don't want COVID. I'm afraid of losing my mind. My mother's a schizophrenic. I'm that person that if I lose my mind, my life falls apart because I am the breadwinner. I'm the one who is helping people. I'm the one that's there for my partner. So it's like, if I get sick and I can't work for a month, that's it, in game. Our savings is gonna dwindle to nothing, and then we may have to reassess this entire living situation. It is not worth it for me. Vaccine, other issues, lifelong conditions, lifelong effects. So it really, you have to decide like what's the best decision for you. But in my opinion, it's not a perfect decision, and the decision for me is which one offers the most lives saved. And from experience, as many people as I've seen die, the vaccine offers more lives saved. That's why I choose that. That's why I push that. I know it's a risk, and people will not have the best reaction, but it's still logically the best path to take. And so that's how I form so it's not a perfect decision. So for us to think, oh, I'm going to wait, just like the gentleman that just passed away, he was waiting 1 year just to see if anybody was going to have a severe reaction. He lost his life. That is the reaction to COVID. And his wife has to deal with the severe reaction of not having her husband helping her with her 5 children. That is the reaction. So it isn't a perfect decision. It's not a perfect scenario. There isn't a win-win. It's a lose-lose in my opinion, because at the end of the day, you have to decide which one is going to give you the best opportunity to survive. This is not about surviving with a ideal life. This is just about surviving. And so this choice that we have as individuals about vaccinating, I know I'm talking about it for a while, but it's important. Vaccinating and masking up versus not and taking the risk with COVID. Okay, okay. So it's not a perfect decision. It's not a win-win. It's a lose-lose. You're going to lose in one way or another. So just make the best decision that's going to get you to stay alive so that you can be there for family, so that you can get through this as best as you can.